All right, well, welcome back on board. Here we are at Monte Carlo Rendezvous 2023, and I'm delighted to have with me Jose Seara, the CEO of DeNexus, who's doing all sorts of exciting things in the cybersecurity space. So, Jose, can you tell us a bit about what DeNexus do and how you've been brought to Monte Carlo to share it with the Rendezvous community?
Perfect, thank you, Ben, for having me here. So, I put DeNexus together in March 2019, so that is a little bit more than 4 years ago. Prior to that, which will explain why I am doing what I'm doing, prior to that, I've been an industrial asset owner and operator. I've been building companies in the industrial space, mostly power generation. And prior to DeNexus, the last project was in the renewable energy space. I'm from Spain, and one of those projects brought me to, or took me to the US, where I built this power generation company in the US and Canada with renewable energy.
Very cool.
And we did quite innovative things in that company that gave us exposure to a few things above the average player in the industry. And cyber risk was one of them. That's how I became intrigued and interested on the risk, being a risk owner.
Yeah,
and not understanding my risk and not knowing what to do with the risk.
That's very exciting.
But
so
at
you
the
had
same,
a first-hand experience of
unfortunately, thank God, yes.
Yes.
And because of our operating model in the company, I needed to hedge the risk, and then I learned that the insurance industry was not there for me.
Yeah. Okay.
They didn't understand the risk, they didn't know how to underwrite the risk, and that was my previous life. That company got sold, and then I decided to turn my problem into a business opportunity, and that is DeNexus.
Very exciting. So how do you fix this gap, I guess? Why did nobody else offer what you offer before?
I guess because they are not as crazy as I am. I thought, I mean, this is a data game. So the technology that we had developed and keep developing is a data analytics platform that takes data from many different places to try to characterize and quantify the risk. It's complex, it's a dynamic risk, and many different pieces of information inform that risk. So that's what we are building, and in our case, 100% focus on what I called industrial cyber risk. So risk in industrial facilities, which is my personal background.
Which I can imagine is very different to most sort of mass market cyber risk.
Very, very different. Those facilities were built without cybersecurity as a condition, so they are really resilient from the operating standpoint. Think on the electricity network. There is pretty much always electricity, so they are really, really resilient from the operating standpoint, but they are really weak from the cyber risk standpoint.
No, that's really interesting. So when you come to a big event like this, who are you looking to talk to the most? Are you looking for partnerships, customers?
It really depends on the event. Actually, the events that I like the most is where there is customers. In this particular case, we are trying to solve the risk for the owners of the risk, and that requires hedging or transferring, offloading a big component of the risk, especially in these large industrial facilities where this risk is a low probability, high impact type of risk. So the insurance, reinsurance industry plays a critical role. And one of the things that brings me here is explain what I'm doing and participate or promote that education in the market.
Nice. And it sounds like then you're at the front of a very potentially fast-growing new area, line of business almost, or sub-line of business, I suppose, within cyber, because from your experience being the risk owner, there wasn't a product you could buy, but now you're making it possible for people to get coverage, and that grows from here, I guess.
The risk is there to stay. Evidently, we are digitalizing everything we do. So the risk arguably not only is there to stay, is going to keep growing. The transfer of a meaningful piece of the risk is a must to have, in my opinion, for that industry, but the capacity is not growing at the pace that the risk is growing at. So not only there is a capacity gap, the gap keeps growing. It will take longer than 50 minutes to explain all the different reasons, but at the bottom of everything is a lack of understanding of the risk.
Yeah.
And we think that understanding comes through data.
So if somebody's listening to this podcast right now and they hear what you're saying and think, I've got to find out more, where should they go to learn more about what you're doing?
First and foremost, our website, DeNexus.io, and I'm always available to talk to anybody who wants to understand what we are doing deeper.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Jose. It's been a pleasure spending time on the yacht together and getting some podcasting done, and hopefully I'll see you around the event in the days to come.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks again.